All right, we are behind the wheel of our second production Legend square body pickup truck today. And believe it or not, this is the first time that I've driven this truck, so get some honest feedback because I'm feeling it for the first time. Yeah, these Legend trucks, man, we're having a blast building them. Got, probably about a dozen of them either in production, a couple of them wrapped up, sold the first one out at Barrett-Jackson, ended up in the hands of a great customer of ours, and he is driving the wheels off of that truck and thoroughly enjoying it. I daily drive one, so for me this feels very comfortable. Feels like an old pair of jeans, which is kind of what these trucks are supposed to feel like. Interesting driving this because my truck, the prototype, that's the tan truck that's kind of been out on the road racking up miles, and I think everybody's seen it featured in various videos on our website. Being the prototype, it's got a lot of, I don't want to say shortcomings, but it has things that were just original to the truck. We didn't fully engineer all the little, kind of upgrades in it. So this truck is badass. I mean, I'm excited getting behind the wheel of it because it has all the little cool things that my truck doesn't have yet. Shortly after this trip, it will have them. Let's start with what the Legend truck is, what we're driving in a 1979 Silverado, what we call square body Chevrolet pickup truck, and it is on our Legend Series chassis. So the Legend Series chassis, that is our independent front suspension, OE GM components on a very unique chassis that we manufacture in-house. Tremendous amount of engineering in this project and in this particular truck. All that comes together to make for an awesome ride. Not exactly a hot rod, more of just a brand new truck that's kind of wrapped in an old truck. So braking, ride quality, steering, everything in this truck feels just like you're getting in a brand new Chevy pickup truck, which is pretty damn cool. You get a little bit of feedback, both positive, a little bit of negative on the IFS. Okay, so independent front suspension is probably the best upgrade that you can do to something that you really plan on driving and using. So for the hardcore guys out there that are rock crawling, you're mudding, you're crushing cars, doing whatever it is that you do off the road, you might want to stick with a solid axle front end. But this IFS for general, just daily driving is absolutely phenomenal. Love the feel of it, love the steering input, the predictability, I mean the safety. You can cruise this truck 90, 100 miles an hour on the highway, one hand on the wheel all day long, and you are absolutely shocked. You've got to kind of pinch yourself sometimes and remember that you are driving in a truck from 1979, because this chassis, the drivetrain, and some of the little neat upgrades in the interior, it makes you forget all the old truck stuff, except for the cool factor. So you've got a kick-ass looking truck, square body, in my opinion, the most quintessential pickup truck ever made. Iconic. I think it was the absolute height of Chevrolet's styling, which is kind of like lack of styling. I mean, they call it a square body truck because it's a box. It's kind of the truck that every kid draws when they're drawing a side view of a pickup truck, right? Badass, man, I love them. We're doing a tremendous amount of them. We've done them lowered on our spec chassis. We've done them on fast track chassis. We've done race trucks. We've done cruisers. But now we're having a lot of fun with this Legend chassis lineup. and the actual vehicle builds as well. So the chassis package is available on its own, where you can buy essentially a complete ready-to-run chassis. So it includes a complete core support that we manufacture in-house, which is all CAD design, and it is a replacement for the factory core support, but it incorporates mounts for virtually everything in your cooling system. Pretty much all the mechanicals of the truck. You've got a battery mount in it. You've got, for the LT4 applications, your heat exchanger mount, transmission cooler, power steering cooler, big factory OE radiator with twin PWM fans. Much like the chassis, all the mechanicals remain factory off-the-shelf General Motors. So aftermarket stuff's awesome. There's some great high-performance parts out there, but for the longevity and the durability, what an awesome package to be able to just get stuff right off the shelf from General Motors. That kind of follows suit all the way back from front to back on this chassis. The drivetrain, LT1 in this one, this is actually the first truck we've done that's naturally aspirated. So 480 horsepower. Honestly, it's great in this truck. I'm used to driving the LT4 version of it, which I daily drive. And I'm used to hearing that supercharger whine, and I kind of get used to the awesome power that comes with it. But this is just so civilized. And honestly, it's got enough power to get up and go that it's got a little bit of hot rod in it. It's a little bit sporty, and it's fun. It's fun to drive. Transmission behind that, 8L90. So the 8-speed, great upgrade, which comes along with the LT series motors. Really puts the power band and the RPM range exactly where you want it. You never feel like the truck is hunting for a gear, lazy on the RPMs, in the wrong gear. It just always feels like it's right where you want it to be. You know, almost like driving a manual car. You touch the throttle, it steps a gear down, boom, you're right back there in the RPM range you want to be in. On the highway, thing cruises great. You know, you're probably 2,000 RPMs, cranking at 80 miles an hour. So an absolute highway machine. You know, one other thing that we didn't really speak about is the wheel and tire package on it. So Billet Specialties put together really neat hubcap style factory wheels. So we originally started, being that it has factory GM disc brakes, we need a minimum of a 17-inch wheel, and I wanted that to be the maximum too. I didn't want anything that's really big and overpowers the classic look of the truck. So on a 17-inch wheel, you're able to retain, you know, quite a bit of sidewall, and it's about a 34.5-inch Nitto tire on it. Really just makes for a cool package. Nothing overly aggressive, very well mannered on the street. Virtually no tire noise comes through the cab of this truck, and it's great on the highway. If you want to put it in the mud, it'll get through the mud. I wouldn't recommend that, because I'm sure we've all seen the videos of what we did with my truck, and still to this day I'm cleaning it up. Independent front suspension, utilizes a Fox coilover shock, so that's one of the few things that deviates from the factory. The other thing that deviates from the factory is the leaf springs out back. So we did stick with a pretty standard leaf spring design, and I think it fits the package really well. The ride quality is awesome. You would not find yourself wanting more out of it. You're not going to be driving this and saying, man, I wish I had coilovers on it. It's a Devers leaf, so it's a kind of multi-leaf progressive system on the back. A lot of travel, more travel than factory. Just generally makes for some really awesome ride quality. Coupled with that is a helper bag system, because the truck does have a hitch on it. Helper bags to pump it up. Those leaf springs, they ride a little light, so if you're hauling a load, the truck will sag a little bit, right? So you've got a remote that's mounted right on a really cool 3D printed piece in your glove box to control it, whether you're throwing some dirt bikes in the bed, whether you're hauling a small trailer, anything you want to do with this. The concept was functionality, and to be able to use this like it's an actual pickup truck, right? So for somebody that is adding this to their fleet, you don't have to look at it as though it's just a hot rod or a classic car. I mean, you can kind of view this as it's a work truck, and that's what I use mine for. I mean, I'm always hauling stuff in it. Bed's constantly full of stuff, and it's just a great vehicle to have in your collection. If you got a bunch of hot rods, you got some muscle cars, and you want to diversify, Legend Truck is where it's at. I promise you, you will not be sorry. So it's interesting driving this truck after coming out of mine and getting to experience some of the really cool upgrades that we didn't integrate into the prototype truck. So the very first thing that I noticed that's a great improvement is the steering wheel in this truck. So my truck has the factory classic square body wheel, which is very iconic to the truck visually, and it's also iconic that every time the sun hits it, the plastic turns sticky, and you feel like, I don't know, somebody was like driving your truck eating with Cheeto hands, just covering your steering wheel with crap. So we knew we wanted to upgrade the steering wheel from factory, but I really didn't want to lose the factory look. And there aren't a tremendous amount of options out there to shrink that down and have something that's got a factory feel to it. There's billet steering wheels that have been replicated of that original design, but the problem with them is that they're so heavy that it really translates to what I think is just a negative steering feel. I don't love the feeling of the weight of that steering wheel, and it's uncomfortable. So what we did is we took a 2-spoke Lucara steering wheel that we worked with the boys over at Locar. Great friends of ours, great partners, and they send us a wheel, simple 2-spoke, and in-house here Chris Gray designed a really cool clamshell 3D printed wheel center on it. So it uses a very specific kind of custom steering wheel adapter. Works with the whole horn button assembly, and it's got our little Legend logo right there in the center. So basically what you end up with is a factory looking steering wheel scaled down to let's say 14 and a half inches, and it has a thick leather grip on it. So you lose the feeling of that super thin kind of vintage steering wheel, and it gives you just way better steering feel. You feel a lot more comfortable driving it. The ratio feels a lot better with the smaller diameter wheel in it, and it's the one thing that connects you to the truck. It's what you're hanging on to. So it's pretty awesome. That's a product that will more than likely make available to the masses, just because it's almost too good not to share with everybody. If you've got any square body hot rod, lower them, raise them, 4-wheel drive, that's a great option for a square body pickup truck. I always feel like the steering wheel is the first thing you look at, and it's the thing that can like really make an interior look completely out of place. Can't say enough good things about that upgrade in these Legend trucks. Through the interior, the concept on these originally was to really do a very unique upgraded interior. We've got some phenomenal renderings of it, and we're actually executing that in a truck right now that's at Avant Garde, getting a very, very cool custom interior. But what we realized very quickly is that every customer that drove my truck, it's got an old blanket on the seat to hide the ripped up factory seat, crack in the dash pad, all factory interior, and it's very wash and wear. Everybody that drove it said, I wouldn't change a thing, that's exactly what I want. And I'm talking everybody that drives that thing. So we've been sourcing some really cool original trucks. So rare, low mileage stuff, really cool time capsules, and this happens to be one of them. This followed suit with retaining the majority of the factory interior. There are no floor modifications, so the factory carpet kit can go right back in it. Retain the factory bench seat. Ergonomically, to fix some of the inherent problems with these, in that they are pretty short in the cab, we use a 2-inch shorter steering column. It's a tilt column, and it pulls the wheel away from you. In addition to that, the stack up of the hub adapter and the dish of this steering wheel, it buys you even more space. So the steering wheel is no longer in your chest. I mean, typically you'd be driving one of these trucks about here. You really feel like you can spread out a little bit in this truck. Everything's just very neatly disguised within it. We didn't want to lose the character or change anything too drastically, but we wanted to incorporate like the bare essentials, not to get overly techy with all sorts of digital add-ons and stuff that would just be kind of complicated when you're driving the truck. I wanted a simple volume knob on the stereo, sliders on the AC controls, and a 4-wheel drive button that's right there at your fingertips. So the dash, aside from the Dakota Digital cluster, it's largely stock. But what isn't is this really cool billet insert here that packages a Kicker KMC head unit, and it's just a great Bluetooth unit. Your audio files out there, I'm sure there's more wild and techie stuff you can dig into. For me and just about everybody driving this, it's the perfect setup. You got a nice positive volume control, Bluetooth to your phone, and it just produces some phenomenal sound. So in addition to that, we've got some really nice Morel component speakers that are in some 3D printed kick panels. We manufacture all that in-house. It has a machine bezel that surrounds it with some vintage guitar amp cloth that covers it, so it kind of sticks in that 70s vibe. Not factory, but it kind of gives you somewhat of a factory plus kind of look. Cool little subwoofer box, also with a Morel sub that's tucked right under this bench seat. It nestles itself right into the recess in the floor, and sitting behind the seat are all the electronics of this truck. So wiring wise, it's on all PDM modules. It has a pre-made harness that we've designed and we've sourced. So the wiring of this truck, everything's plug and play. OE level electric harness, all plugs into place, and a very simple process to put one of these trucks together and wire it. And you know, it feels like there's not a tremendous amount to talk about on this truck because it realistically looks just so simple, but we could go all day long on the engineering of this truck, and that's really the highlight of this, the level of engineering that's gone into the design work on this truck that makes it what it is. It's easy to say that you're putting something together and it's going to be a daily driver, but to accomplish that takes a tremendous amount of effort. And I feel like this truck was really a sum of everything that we've learned over the years and kind of wrapped it all up into one awesome package. So that's the heart of this truck. Everything lies underneath the skin. It's kind of a giant sleeper, which I like because you drive this truck, sure, it grabs a tremendous amount of attention just because it's just, in my opinion, so damn good looking. It's a sleeper. You know, you could pull it into a gas station, and it's funny, I'm regularly offered $12,000 to $15,000 for my truck, and everybody wants to buy it, but nobody knows what it is, which is kind of cool.